Okay, after a day off, we are back with the association here on Thursday, December 19th. We have got 12 games in the NBA today after a day off, obviously, and with the in-season tournament finals on Tuesday. Again, we've got 12 games headlined by, of course, Karl Anthony Towns' return to Minnesota. Obviously, the former first overall pick many years ago, Karl Anthony Towns, for the first time as a member of the New York Knicks, will play at the Target Center against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll get into that game and much more again in this predictions video. But folks, if you haven't yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily NBA predictions here on the channel. Later today, we'll have our college basketball predictions. We posted our NFL predictions yesterday, our college football predictions a couple days ago. Of course, there is the schedule for that. We're going to be predicting again every single bowl game this bowl season. And then, of course, the college basketball predictions will be coming out, or actually came out an hour before this video, so go make sure to check that video out. Link is in the description down below. All right, we got 12 games to get through, so there's a lot. Let's start off here with the Detroit Pistons at home against the Utah Jazz. It is rare we see the Detroit Pistons as favorites. I mean, it's, against the Jazz, against the Trailblazers, against maybe the Raptors at home, and the Wizards are the only teams that Detroit will be favored against. And here is one of those games here against the Utah Jazz. We like the Pistons to win this game. They're getting 4.5 points at home. It is a game where the Pistons are coming off a win where they were at home and beat the Miami Heat in overtime. They were able to win 125-124. Detroit has now found themselves in the 10 spot in the Eastern Conference, which currently does put them in the play-in, taking on the Utah Jazz, who sometimes have their nights, but after their game of the season that they played against the Portland Trailblazers, I mean, it was the best basketball I saw the Jazz play all year. They have just kind of dwindled down. Now, the Phoenix game wasn't horrible, and sometimes the Suns kind of just play down to their opponents, and that's kind of what happened in that game where the Jazz again only lost to the Suns by 8 points, but Utah losses against the Kings, Suns, and then Clippers, now putting them at 5-20. Yeah, now they go on the road to Detroit, Michigan for this basketball game. We do like the Pistons to win this one and do it fairly convincingly. Cade Cunningham, obviously the rock on this team. He is their best player, and everything kind of goes through Cade Cunningham. I'd expect, again, the Pistons to dominate this basketball game. Cade's coming off an 18-assist game in that overtime victory over Miami, and I do think the Pistons win this game at home, and I do think they cover the 4.5 points as well. Next up, we go on to Orlando, Florida. We've got the Orlando Magic hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, it was a poor performance out of the best team in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder, in their, in-season tournament final game against the Milwaukee Bucks a couple nights ago. The thing about that game is, it doesn't matter. Yes, the money, whatever, who cares? But in terms of the entire season, hell, we saw the Los Angeles Lakers last year win the in-season tournament, and what happened? They were a first-round exit. I'm not saying the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be just that, but in terms of record-wise, that's the one game that doesn't apply for a record. So again, the Bucks don't get a victory for that game. The Thunder don't get a loss. The only thing that happens from that game is that the Thunder got their $250,000 for losing the in-season tournament finals, and the Milwaukee Bucks obviously got their $500,000 per player for winning the in-season tournament. So nothing really changes. Yeah, OKC lost the Bucks game. They looked horrible. They couldn't shoot the basketball at all. I mean, Shea had 2 3-pointers and the rest of the team had 3. So nothing was going right for the Thunder in that basketball game. Giannis was pretty unstoppable, obviously everywhere with that big triple-double. It is what it is. The Thunder lost the basketball game, but technically that game doesn't count, right? It's just a money game. They're still 20-5. Shea is still the best player in the NBA. He's still going to win the MVP this season. Those 21 points he put up in the Milwaukee game doesn't lower his averages at all because the game doesn't count for any regular season stat because they don't play an 83rd game, obviously. I like the Thunder to go into Orlando and win. The Magic are coming off back-to-back losses now. They have the loss against the Milwaukee Bucks. They have the loss against the New York Knicks. Jalen Suggs has been the guy to step up for the Magic, of course, with the injuries to Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. But it was also Mo Wagner, the brother of Franz, I think the older brother, right? Yeah, I think he's older, who put up 32 points. Their loss to the New York Knicks on Sunday. We're in a weird spot in the NBA right now, too, that the in-season tournament finals just made it so that teams aren't playing that much right now. It's kind of weird. You had I think 1 game on Monday, right? Yeah, 5 games on Monday, 1 game on Tuesday, no games on Wednesday, and then now everyone's playing on Thursday. I mean, I don't know why you just wouldn't split up some of these teams to play yesterday, and on top of that, Friday there was only 3 games. I don't know. I guess because they didn't want teams playing back-to-backs after the in-season tournament finals because they didn't know who was going to be in that game, but it's just weird. Like, you couldn't have just scheduled us, I don't know, like Utah versus Detroit on Wednesday. Like, neither of those teams are winning the entire thing. Charlotte, Washington that we're going to come up to next, and I don't know. Houston, New Orleans, like, let's just be honest, the Rockets weren't winning anything. Or I guess if you want to, we could go, I don't know, Lakers, Kings. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Regardless, I like OKC to go into Orlando and win, right? They had an off night the other night, but OKC is still a much more talented team compared to them in the Magic. Obviously, Orlando's still dealing with the injuries to Franz Wagner, to Paolo Banchero. I like the Oklahoma City Thunder to take care of business here in Orlando and win the basketball game over the Magic. Next up, we move on to the worst game on the docket for today, the Charlotte Hornets hosting the Washington Wizards. The Hornets are 4.5-point favorites in a basketball game, and believe it or not, we're going to take them to cover this line. Charlotte has not covered this line since, oh my goodness, November 8th, when they beat the Indiana Pacers at home by 20 points. It's the last time they have covered 3.5 points. That's not good. LaMelo Ball's back, though, so we actually have a lot of confidence in Charlotte winning this basketball game and winning it fairly easily. The Wizards are still without a lot of key pieces. No Malcolm Brogdon, no Kyle Kuzma, no Corey Kispert, no Keyshawn George. Again, those are 4 out of the 10 guys who play regular minutes for the Washington Wizards. And now Charlotte gets their guy back. They get LaMelo Ball back, who prior to the injury was putting up 50-point games, 44-point games. And Brandon Miller has done a decent job, of course, scoring in the absence of LaMelo Ball. But obviously that's not enough for Charlotte to win basketball games. And even with Melo, right, they're not going to win that many games. But they are taking on the Wizards here, who are absolutely atrocious at basketball. The Hornets aren't great, right? They're 7-19, but the Wizards are 3-21. Somehow 2 of those wins are the Atlanta Hawks, and the other one is the Denver Nuggets. Still, I'm taking the Washington Wizards to lose. Can't rely on that team to ever win a basketball game. Charlotte's going to go on the road, cover the 3.5 points pretty easily in LaMelo's return here on the road in Washington. I don't think it's that close of a game, honestly. I get it. The Hornets aren't that great, but the Wizards are on a whole nother level of bad. Let's move on to our next game. Here we go to the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. We have got the Chicago Bulls on the road taking on the Boston Celtics. The line's 14.5 points. I think that line has since shifted to 15.5, so I guess it's still playable at 15.5. Personally, again, my rule for games like this, I normally don't take large spreads like this unless it's against the Washington Wizards. Even then, I kind of lay off it. A game like this, though, Boston and Chicago, like, again, so many things need to go right for Boston to cover this line. And again, I still think they will cover it. They have covered this in both their last 2 wins against the Wizards and Pistons. But it's weird because the Bulls do have their nights where they score, right? Chicago's coming off a victory when they went on the road to Toronto and won the game, didn't cover because they were 1.5-point favorites. They only won the game by 1 point. Buzzer beating shot, didn't cover it for Chicago in that basketball game. But this is a Bulls team coming off 2 straight victories against the Hornets and the Raptors. I get it, those aren't great teams. Just so many variables could go the wrong way. Again, I do think Boston covers just because the way they do play and because Boston is so good and because the fact that the Bulls don't play defense and they might be without Josh Giddey in this basketball game as well. Of course, Lonzo Ball is back, so, I guess he will start instead of Josh Giddey tonight. If Giddey doesn't play, we'll see again. But regardless, and again, Lonzo does give back some of that defensive presence for the Bulls, obviously, because again, this is a starting lineup that just simply put doesn't usually play defense. I mean, Levine, Kobe White, Giddey, now, Levine might be on the move. Obviously, there were those rumors about him, potentially going to Denver, which would be kind of nasty. I'm not going to lie. So it feels like Levine, his days as a Bull are numbered. And Chicago's obviously not in a position to win this season, even though they are in the play-in spot right now. They're number 9. But we've said it before, and I'll say it again. The 8 teams right now that are 1-3 in the Eastern Conference feel like these are just the 8 best teams in the East. Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, Magic, Bucks, Heat, Hawks, Pacers. Those feel like the obvious top 8, and everyone else is just there. Again, I think the standings will sort themselves out to the point where it's going to be those 8 teams. It's going to be a huge gap, and there's just going to be, there's 9 and 10 who we don't really need them here, but they're going to be in the plan. Kind of like last year, right? I kind of feel like that's how it's going to go this season. I think Boston does blow out Chicago, though. Again, the Celtics right now are playing like one of the best teams in the NBA, and Chicago doesn't play defense, and Boston will score at will. So give me the Celtics to take care of business at home against the Chicago Bulls. Next up, we move on to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We have got the Toronto Raptors hosting the Brooklyn Nets. Again, it's unfortunate, but this is the state of the Brooklyn Nets. I cannot pick them to cover basketball games anymore because of this team just has a losing mindset now. Cam Thomas is still out. Zaire Williams is still out off the bench. Ben Simmons is now starting at point. But of course, them trading Dennis Schroeder to the Golden State Warriors, they are waving the white flag on this season. And it sucks because this is a Nets team that is very competitive. They are a high-scoring team. They are going to shoot the basketball time in and time out. Every possession feels like they are pulling up, which, maybe that's what's wrong with the current state of the NBA. But regardless, the Nets will stay in basketball games because of their shooting. They've done it pretty much time in and time out this season, and they trade Dennis Schroeder, and this entire team collapses against the Cavaliers. They lose the game by 29 points. I'm serious. It's just a mindset thing. This team is done. They just are. Because they were so competitive. They won a little 3-game stretch, earlier in the season when they went on the West Coast. They were 9-10 at one point after they went to Sacramento and won, went to Golden State and won, and went to Phoenix and won in the span of 4 days. And they lose a couple games, and you know what? Oh, we're just going to trade Dennis Schroeder. Cam Thomas, probably gone a little bit too. Cameron Johnson, probably gone too. The Nets don't want to win. They don't. I'm serious. They don't want to be a 10 seed or a 9 seed that makes the play-in. No, they want to be an even better lottery team. They're going on the road to Toronto. I think the Raptors get them. The Raptors are pretty pitiful too. They've lost 5 games in a row. I get it, but they've been playing some decent teams other than the Chicago Bulls. Scotty Barnes is out. Jakob Poeltl's out. Bruce Brown is out. Yeah, but the Nets just right now, it's a losing mindset. You get rid of your leader of the offense, or at least your facilitator, or your ball handler. It's just now Ben Simmons is running the offense. I'm taking the Raptors. RJ Barrett's going to be an all-star this season. I'm taking the Raptors. They have better players, and as far as bad as Toronto is, they haven't, gone on a fire sale yet. They actually seem like they have a future with Scotty Barnes, with Grady Dick, with RJ Barrett. But what is the Nets' future? I'm serious. Who is their up-and-coming guy that they're kind of stashing and waiting to become a superstar? I mean, yeah, Cam Thomas is that guy. I really like Cam Thomas a lot. He's only, how old is Cam Thomas? 23 years old? Why would they move Cam Thomas? They've been talking about moving Thomas all year long, though. And that's your guy you should build around. But instead, they're going to trade him, and they're going to trade the rest of this team. What are the Nets doing? You play in New York. You're a big market. A couple of years ago, you had Kyrie Irving. James Harden was on the team a couple of years ago. And Kevin Durant. I kind of forget Harden went to the Nets at some point. Win games. I don't get it. Give me the Raptors. The Nets pissed me off because they were actually kind of fun this year. Let's move on to our next game. Here we go to the New Orleans Pelicans, going to Houston, to the United Center to take on the Houston Rockets. I like the Rockets. Why? The Pelicans suck. We've been over this a million times on the channel, and I will keep saying it. The Pelicans are not good at basketball. I don't think the Rockets are very good either, but the Pelicans are better than the Rockets. The Rockets are better than the Pelicans. Pelicans are absolutely abysmal. Trust me, the Rockets will fall off a cliff eventually. This team's not that good. They are overperforming, all right? They are overachieving right now. Jalen Green isn't very good. Their only really good player is Alfred Sengun. The rest of this team is going to eventually go cold. It's a matter of time. But the thing is, it's not going to happen here because of how bad the New Orleans Pelicans are. The Houston Rockets will be able to lock down anything New Orleans has got going. And also, they are the midst of trade talk as well. Obviously, still no Zion Williamson, still no Brandon Ingram. CJ McCollum and DeJounte Murray are trying with this G League team, and CJ McCollum is about to get traded. So, where are they talking? CJ to the Bucks? Is that what I saw today? I think so. It's just, I don't know. This is why the Pelicans are horrible. This is why they're horrible. Again, they are the only team that is banned in the association right now. I want to ban the Trailblazers too, but we'll let them be a little bit. I'm going to wait until the next time I actually pick Portland in a game. Then if they lose, I'll ban them. But New Orleans stays on the ban list because they're horrible. And since we banned them, I think they're 3-18. This team's just not good. 2-18 since we banned them. Give me Houston. I'm not sold on the Rockets either. I personally wouldn't bet the game. But again, we pick every single game, so I am going to take the Houston Rockets here. This team will regress eventually. The problem is their next 4 games are against the Pelicans, Raptors, Hornets, and Pelicans. So I have to sit here for another week and pick the Rockets every single day until then they go play the Timberwolves, Heat, Mavs, Celtics, Lakers, and then we can pick against them every single night. Right now, I can't honestly tell you that they're going to lose another game until the 27th of December. Unfortunately, we have to take the Houston Rockets here because the Pelicans are just that horrible. Give me Houston, -10.5, -600. Next up, we go to the FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee. We have got the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Golden State Warriors. We like the Grizzlies, like the Houston Rockets. I've been telling you that I think the Warriors are going to fall off a cliff as well. Now, we were forced to make a pick in the in-season tournament game between the Warriors and the Rockets. I thought the Warriors were going to get it done. They didn't, obviously. But the Warriors were a team that was at one point in the season. I mean, what was their best record at this point? At some point in the year, 12-4. This is once a 12-4 basketball team. They're now 14-11. That's not good. They've lost 7 out their last 9 games. Yes, they've lost 7 of 9 going into this one. Memphis is playing like the better basketball team right now. I know the Warriors beat the Grizzlies in their first matchup this season. You got to go back to November 15th. It was a home game for the Warriors that they ended up winning by 5 points. But I believe that's when Ja was still hurt. The Grizzlies are going to be better. The Grizzlies are going to be better in the second matchup. The Grizzlies play great basketball. They just do. I mean, Jaren Jackson, again, I keep emphasizing that Jaren Jackson is an all-star in this league. He is a top 20 player in this league. And for the Warriors, again, Steph Curry's great, but there's only so much Curry can do for this squad. There just is, right? You got Wiggins still, you got Kuminga, Buddy Hield is so shaky, you got Draymond, I believe, Schroeder's here now, which is great. Dennis Schroeder will be making his debut, I would assume. He is questionable for this game. He's a game-time decision. I'd assume he has to play this game, and why wouldn't he? So I think Schroeder does give them a little boost off the bench, but ultimately, I do think the Memphis Grizzlies are still the better basketball team. I like what they do, again, with Ja, with Desmond Bane, with Jaren Jackson. I do like the Grizzlies. They are the better basketball team, and they should be able to win at home here in the FedEx Forum against the Golden State Warriors. Next up, we move on to San Antonio. We have got the San Antonio Spurs taking on the Atlanta Hawks. I've been raving about the Hawks all season long, and we are going to continue to take the Atlanta Hawks. Guys, Trae Young is the most underappreciated superstar in the National Basketball Association. The guy is that good. Now the Hawks are going to be out of Onyeka Okongwu for the next couple of games, but Clint Capella will be able to do his thing. Obviously, they'll play extended minutes for him. And then I guess off the bench, I guess Larry Nance gonna have to play some. I guess he can play the 5. I don't know, kind of. But Trae Young's excellent. Trae Young, again, is just such a good basketball player. The shooting obviously lights out. The way he's able to run this offense. And again, the help that they have given him with Jalen Johnson, with DeAndre Hunter's shooting ability, with Dyson Daniels, not just on the offensive side of the ball, but the defense that the Great Barrier Thief plays. Yes, Dyson Daniels, get it? Because he's Australian. Yep, the Great Barrier Thief, Dyson Daniels. But I really like this Hawks team. I do. I think they're able to go into San Antonio and win. I like the Spurs. I do. I mean, their victory, they're coming from behind win a couple nights ago, last Friday against the Portland Trailblazers was one of the most electric games I watched all season. I mean, the Trailblazers were pulling some voodoo magic out their ass, and, San Antonio was able to find a way to win that basketball game. It was great. Wemby, again, is a bona fide superstar. He is, and Chris Paul being on this team really helps. Stephon Castle's likely on his way to win the Rookie of the Year this season. Julian Champagnie is probably, a top 5 catch-and-shoot shooter in the entire NBA, but the Hawks are just on a roll right now, man. Yes, they lost in Vegas in the in-season tournament to the Milwaukee Bucks, but this is a Hawks team right now that is on a roll. Trae Young is playing excellent basketball, and again, the help they have given Trae Young is really working right now. I think the Hawks, again, they're going to be a team that's going to make a push this year in the Eastern Conference. Trust me, it's going to be similar to that year, 2021, where Trae got them to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Knicks. I feel like it's going to be that type of run again. Give me the Atlanta Hawks to take care of business on the road and beat the San Antonio Spurs. Next up, we move on. Not to that yet. We've got the the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. Again, like the Warriors, like the Rockets, I feel like the Clippers' little run is coming to an end. They're going to go cold eventually, and this is, I think, it's kind of already started, and I think this is where it continues. They have a pretty tough gauntlet coming up to the Clippers. Now, obviously, someone's going to have to win their game between them and the Warriors on the 27th, but back-to-back games on the road here in Dallas against the Mavericks. They've got a game on the road in Memphis against the Grizzlies, right? Then the Warriors, and they get a free win against the Pelicans, and then the Spurs. But still, the Spurs, that's not an easy game at all. But still, I think the Clippers run kind of comes to an end pretty soon, right? They lost 3 in a row to the Timberwolves, Rockets, and Nuggets. They obviously beat the Utah Jazz in a game where Harden, who's been turning back the clock all year long, James Harden puts up 41 points in their victory over the Utah Jazz. Crazy. And Zubac, by the way, has been the model of consistency this season for the Los Angeles Clippers. And obviously, again, Norman Powell is just being pumped up on steroids. I don't know where he found this ability to shoot the basketball. It's insane. But ultimately, the Mavericks are the better basketball team. Luka Doncic again, Kyrie Irving. That's really, again, the fundamental part of this Dallas Mavericks team. And I'm not saying that's all they need, but obviously those two guys are going to continue to carry the load for Dallas. Now, both Kyrie and Luka are game time decisions for this basketball game, but I would assume that both of them will go out there and give it a go tonight against the Clippers. A Clippers team that has struggled on the road this season. They have recently been playing better in the Intuit Dome, and I do think the Mavericks are able to pick up the victory. Again, I think they should be able to outpace the Clippers. They should be able to outscore this team as well with Luka, with Kyrie, even hell, I guess with Klay sometimes. I do like the Dallas Mavericks to go win this game at home. The line is what? 6.5. Yeah, like the Mavericks to cover that line and win the game as well at -250. Okay, we go to Phoenix, Arizona for the Indiana Pacers taking on the Phoenix Suns. Yes, this is the Pacers' time to go on a run. We've been waiting for it all year long, and now that they've won 3 of 4 games, I think Indiana's starting to catch fire. Now, in all fairness, the teams that they have beat have not been the best, right? Chicago, Philadelphia, New Orleans. I get it, but we have been trying to cash all season long with the Pacers at plus money. We did it a couple nights ago when they were on the road in Philadelphia at plus 220, and now we're going to try to do it again. Plus 220 on the Indiana Pacers on the road against the Phoenix Suns. This is my favorite upset pick of the day, okay? Underdog pick of the day. Phoenix recently has been playing down to their opponents. I know, again, even with Kevin Durant back, they have been playing down to what their opponents do as well, okay? Phoenix will get into a shootout with Indiana. They will, and this is the state of the NBA right now, they will not play defense and think that they can just trade buckets back to back to back to back to back. That was a lot of to-backs. With the Indiana Pacers, because that's how the Pacers play, obviously. This is a team that's going to try to, push the pace, run the court, obviously. But Phoenix just hasn't been playing all that well recently, right? Losing 3 straight games, the Pelicans, Heat, and Magic. They come back home, they go to Utah, barely win the game by 8 points. It's a close game up until the 4th quarter where they pulled away, and then they beat the Trailblazers by 7 at home in their last game. Again, D Book's been playing really well for the Suns, and obviously they've got shooters as well that again keep them from losing these type of games to Portland and to Utah. But again, Phoenix does play down to their opponents sometimes, and I think it's a great opportunity for Indiana on the road here. Coming off this little break that they've had, they haven't played since Sunday, have the Pacers. I think this is a really good spot for this basketball team, and it's very important that Tyrese Halliburton has been playing better basketball as of late, right? Tyrese now got the averages up to 18 and 8.5, right? I mean, that's what we will take those numbers out of Tyrese Halliburton, right? The win over the Sixers, 32 points out of Halliburton, 21 in the victory over the Pelicans. Halliburton has found his 3-point shot back here with the Indiana Pacers, and that's only going to help this Indiana team out, right? Again, I can rely on Pascal Siakam to be good. I can rely on, there's really no one else I can rely on this Pacers team to be really good. That's why we need Tyrese Halliburton to be consistently good, and that's, again, Tyrese has looked better recently. Miles Turner needs to kind of pick it up. Benedict Mathurin has been good this season as well. And I think they go into Phoenix and shock the Suns. This is a Suns team that, again, is not playing their best basketball right now. They've been dealing with injuries all year long. Bradley Beal is not playing this basketball game. Not like that matters in the most because Beal hasn't been the best this season. But still, even with Beal's absence, right? I mean, Royce O'Neal probably steps into the starting lineup. I do like Indiana here to pull off the upset at plus 220. The Pacers are finally going to go on a run, and it continues tonight in Phoenix against the Phoenix Suns. Okay, we now go to the game of the day between the New York Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, obviously in the big offseason trade, sending Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo to Minnesota in return for Karl Anthony Towns, who's obviously now on the New York Knicks. I think in hindsight, we can say the New York Knicks probably won this trade. I'll be honest with you. I think Cat has been great for this Knicks team, and I think, again, he has made up for the production at least lost in terms of guys such as Julius Randle and DiVincenzo. And the Knicks are sitting at 16 and 10 at this point in the year, right? They are the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, and for the Timberwolves, 14 and 11, they are the 7 seed in the Western Conference. We are taking Minnesota, though. We're taking the Knicks. We're gonna go with the Knicks in this basketball game. I do think, again, Cat returning home, I think it means something. I think it does. Jalen Brunson's been great all season, but Karl Anthony Towns has been playing some really good basketball this year as well. You see the numbers that Cat's been posting, 25 and 14. I mean, those are great numbers out of Karl Anthony Towns. He will be an all-star in his first season in the Eastern Conference. And for Julius Randle, I mean, not to say he's been playing poorly either. I mean, 27 and 4, but obviously still not the same production that they got out of Cat. And then DiVincenzo obviously hasn't really been great. 8 points a game. He's just been another bench guy for this Minnesota team, who's obviously, again, led by Anthony Edwards, who's averaging 26 points a game. Nas Reed's been pretty good off the bench still, and obviously Rudy Gobert is their anchor in terms of the defense at the center position. I'm taking the Knicks, though, on the road. I do think they're the better basketball team right now. Obviously, again, coming off of that loss to the Atlanta Hawks, but then the win in their rebound game against the Orlando Magic on the road is, again, Karl-Anthony Towns had 22 rebounds in. I mean, this guy, again, putting up crazy rebounding numbers every single night. As long as he can stay out of foul trouble like he was in the Atlanta game, I think he should be fine. Jalen Brunson, again, is a premier point guard in the NBA, and the Knicks, they live and die by the three ball, man, and that's what's going to happen in this game as well against Minnesota. I think it's a close game, but ultimately, I do think the Knicks are able to find a way to win this basketball game. I think at least in terms of their depth, too, they are slightly better than Minnesota. You look at, again, the guys that they bring in that second unit, like Miles McBride, like Mikal Bridges, like, Precious Achiuwa, like Cameron Payne. I think those are guys who are able to win the Knicks minutes in this basketball game when the stars aren't all on the court. And I do think, again, that bench unit out of New York will be enough to propel them to victory. On top of that, I feel like Cat is going to have a monster night as well today. In his return in Minnesota, Karl-Anthony Towns is going to try to prove to the Timberwolves why they shouldn't have traded the guy, again, who they picked at the start of their rebuild, when, of course, they had their big three, obviously, with Cat, Wiggins, and Zach LaVine, the big three. Cat was the main piece on this basketball team. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is going to try to show them why, they shouldn't have moved on. I don't know. Give me the Knicks to win this basketball game on the road. Of course, this one means something. Give me the Knicks on the road to take care of business here in Minnesota. Next up, we go to Portland, Oregon, into the Moda Center for the Portland Trail Blazers and the Denver Nuggets. The Trailblazers suck. Okay? They just suck. Phoenix kept them around because that's how Phoenix is. They will play down to their opponents. The Nuggets, they have done that this season as well. They did that in the game against the Wizards. But since that Wizards game, the Nuggets have looked really good. The Hawks went on the road. They beat the Clippers at home, and they go to Sacramento. They were up big in that game early. They're up by like 25 points in the first half. It looks like the Kings are going to take that game. The Kings take the lead in the fourth quarter. They're up by 8 with about 2 minutes left, and Denver finds a way to win. Jamal Murray, who has been very iffy all season long, had a big clutch shot to win the game for Denver, and obviously Nikola Jokic is one of the best, if not the best player in the NBA, averaging a triple-double, averaging 31, 13, and 10. It is absolutely insane. And again, that will make this Denver team even more scary, is if they can add Zach LaVine as well. I really like it for this team. If they can add LaVine, my goodness, how gross will this team be? I think they should. We'll see again. But Denver's been playing good basketball recently. Of course, they had that, bad game in Washington, obviously, where Jokic dropped 58 something. I think it was 58 points. Again, they should have won that game. Washington had, 8 guys injured. But still, the Nuggets have been playing better recently, and the Trailblazers just suck. This team's bad. There's nothing else to say about it. Portland's really horrible. Aiden's probably not going to play. He's still, personal issues / illness / he doesn't like Chauncey Billups, and Chauncey Billups doesn't like him. I don't trust the Trailblazers to do anything. Right now, they look like one of the worst teams in basketball. They look like, Pelicans-wise, Wizards. Yeah, the Trailblazers are on kind of that bad level, too. Give me Denver to take care of business on the road and cover the 8.5 points they are getting as well. As we go on to our final game, the Los Angeles Lakers go to the Golden One Center. It's the first of 2. These 2 teams will meet again on Saturday in Sacramento. But, of course, it is the Los Angeles Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. I am going with the Lakers. I didn't think they were going to beat the Grizzlies. I've been off of the Lakers recently. I have. Again, I tried to put my Lakers bias aside. You know what? I picked against the Lakers a couple times. I'm not going to pick against them here. I'm not picking the Sacramento Kings. Guys, this Kings team, if we want to talk how disappointing the Lakers have been at times this season, because I'm not going to lie to you, they have been very disappointing at times throughout the entire year. You want to talk about even more disappointing, though? The Sacramento Kings. This is a 13-14 basketball team. They're not that great. They are dealing with a bunch of injuries. Keegan's questionable for this game. Sabonis game time decision. Kevin Huerter off the bench is questionable for this basketball game. And again, it depends on if LeBron plays. AD is going to give it a go, obviously. I think LeBron will be playing. Obviously, returned in the Memphis game and looked fine in his return. I would expect LeBron to play this game against the Sacramento Kings on the road. And ultimately, again, I would expect the Lakers to win this basketball game. Sacramento's just not that good of a team. I don't know. They lose close games like they did against Denver, and I know the Lakers have been questionable, but again, we talk about how bad the Lakers have been all season long. Well, the Kings have arguably been worse. People just don't realize it because they're not the Lakers. This is a Sacramento team that they added DeMar DeRozan. They've had a lot of hype this offseason, and they really haven't been able to get anything done this year. They have a losing record right now. They sit outside of the play-in. I think the Lakers get them. I think they do. I mean, obviously, this isn't the rivalry game it once was, but I do think the Lakers pick up the win here. It's the first time these two teams have met all year long, or sorry, second time all year these two teams have met. I believe the Kings won the Lakers ended up actually beating the Kings in their first game. Sabonis usually does take care of Anthony Davis, but today, and again, in the first game, AD was fine. I think the Lakers go into Sacramento and win the game here against the Kings. So folks, thank you all for watching our NBA predictions here for December 18th. If you have not yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank you all for watching, and Mamba forever.